Hour 2 Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star.
Dads didn't want to get ripped?
Yeah, the walrus himself, Craig Stadler. We were talking about athletes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you decide, I'm going to hit the gym, but there's always a kind of nervous energy that comes with that. What if it has an effect on my technique? And someone wrote in saying, that's why Craig Stadler was like, man, I know what I do out here, and I'm going to keep rocking.
Dude, that dirty old Craig Stadler, he hit a bullet fade, and I'm convinced the only reason he did it is because he had to get it out and around his barrel and then cut in the inside.
He was a player, though,
Dude,
man.
he
was
could
a
play,
golfer.
man.
Oh, like, he won the Masters, man.
Exactly.
That guy, he'll be there with Johnny Rahm, and Johnny Rahm will be wearing his live golf gear because that's what he does everywhere he goes. That's going to be wild, man.
Dude,
that
you want to see a
championship
greasy
dinner?
you want to see a greasy clip of old Stads at the Greensboro Open. He knelt down under a tree to hit a shot on his knees, and he put a towel down on the ground so his knees wouldn't get dirty. Two-shot penalty.
I remember that.
You remember that video?
Two-stroke penalty. What is
Yeah.
the purpose of a two-stroke penalty there? That's where golf is so stupid.
It is.
And it's so unnecessary.
I'm convinced he got a two-stroke penalty
did.
for putting a towel down
Yeah.
on the ground to put his knees
It
on.
affected his lie, they claimed, or something like that. Some
Insane ruling
I
for
know, crazy.
Stads.
Yeah,
and his
poor
old
Stads.
cookie duster mustache.
Yeah.
He was pissed.
He should have been, man. He and Mike Holmgren, dead ringers.
Seriously.
Mike Holmgren, one of the great Packers coaches of all time.
Andy
Seahawks.
Reid could be in the club.
Andy Reid, absolutely, man. You get a stash and similar features. I love it. All right, Justin Turner coming up in about a half an hour. We'll catch up with him, get his take on, how he's blending into the clubhouse down there in Dunedin and what he can possibly bring to the table this year for the Jays, and
You
Mike
talked about
Johnson
it.
coming up.
You talked about it, that spring training, like you're out of that facility at 11 o'clock. Like you're either teeing it or what the hell are you doing?
I think a lot of guys are golfing, clearly, or you fish, or you got to have some sort of activity that you can do because
If you just hang out and play video games, or I don't know what the hell guys do in their private time, and I'm sure back in the old days it was drinking beer at a pub somewhere where nobody could find you.
Oh, yeah.
But those are a lot of down hours, man.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something, you're just left thinking by yourself.
big issue with pro sports. I saw Tracy McGrady was talking about that recently on a podcast, that when he was up here, he's 18 years old in Toronto, he used to go to Palladium in Mississauga by himself, and he'd just go in and put in like hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in play because he played video games. He was a young kid, and he said, like, I had no issue when I was at the gym. I had no issue when I was playing. He's like, what I didn't realize coming out of high school and becoming a pro is I have so much time, and I don't have a wife. I don't have kids.
No.
I don't have friends up here, families. Like, I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do with my life. And that's a real issue. And if you have other hobbies, you can find stuff. Like, again, Florida's great because it's pretty well known in Florida and in Arizona. Like, they put in work early in the morning. A lot of that is heat related as well. It's like get in while it's still a little bit cool in the morning. But you get out of there by like 10:30, and you're on the tees by like 11:30.
Oh, yeah.
Get 18 in, go home, shut the mill down, show up, do it all over again the next day. Spring training sounds like a vibe. Like if you're a tenured player, 10-5 guy, you've made money, you got guarantees. Spring training must be amazing. You never play on the road.
Yeah.
You never go on a bus.
Well, just think, we're golfers. We're all golfers. If you've got 3 teammates who are good golfers and you got a good money game to just tee it up, and like that would be
It's got to be
sick.
amazing, man. Like if you're let's say George Springer, for example. Like George has been around. He wouldn't have 10-5 rights, I guess, here, but he's got a guaranteed contract. He's been around forever, hundreds of millions. He could go up to John Schneider day one and say, I'm not ever riding a bus in the spring. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to Miami.
I'm pretty
Tampa,
sure he does
Orlando.
do that.
Probably. It's like I'm playing exclusively in Dunedin, and I have a standing tee time at 11:07 every single day at the Dunedin Country Club, and that's my plan. And it's like, fine, just be in shape, be ready to go, get your hacks in, do what you're supposed to do. We'll see you in April, man. Like, it's
Hell
got to
yeah.
be a great life.
It's a great life, man.
Just a great life.
You don't like golf, you get on a boat, fish. A lot of these guys are doing hunting. There's a lot of hunters in Major League Baseball, man.
Is there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Gun culture, baby.
Hunting, and Florida would probably be a pretty good state for that.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good state.
Shoot a lot of stuff down there.
Shoot a lot of stuff down there. All right, here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. What's happening, Johnny?
What's going on, boys? This little story time reminds me of two stories. Detroit Red Wings were in their heyday, late 90s, early 2000s, were famous when they'd go up to wherever they go for their training camp, and they would have the practice schedule and the tea time sheet side by side when they would go up to Traverse City, when they'd go up there. Like, literally, like, okay, when do you want a tea time? This is when your practice is. And maybe one of my proudest moments as a professional athlete, I was coming off a good year in Arizona. The coach was Bobby Francis. He pulls me aside, like, second day of camp, and he's like, Mike, what games do you want to play? I'm like, whatever games you tell me to play, coach. Like, I don't know. I don't know how this goes. He's like, well, just which one? Do you want to travel? Do you want to play on the road? Do you want to play 2 or 3 or 4? I'm like, well, this is a change of plan.
Yeah.
So,
Gave you an appetite, and I know what you said. I want to play 2 and both at home.
I said we were playing 6. I said I'd play 3. I was probably too new to it. I said 3, 2 at home, 1 quick jaunt to L.A. for an L.A. game because I'm a professional.
Yes. L.A., you're willing to accept that trip.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Because it's even more, like in baseball, it's crazy. The power of a veteran, the understanding of, like, I'm telling the manager this is the way it's going to work. I am not leaving Dunedin. I fly in and I don't move, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not happening. Ask someone else to go.
My next trip is for the home opener. That's when we're getting on the plane.
Yeah.
Next trip is a charter service.
Yeah.
That is all we're doing out of here.
Exactly.
And, well, I mean, listen, they play so many games. They play 30 preseason games. It's
Right.
just kind of crazy. So, yeah, like, whatever you got to do to get through it, I suppose.
I love it. It's like, I got a member guest next week. I have to be off early. Like, guys, boys are flying down.
I'm doing my getting my hacks in early at the batting cage before practice because I'm going to slide out of here right about 10:30 a.m.
It's like, all right, man, Roger Dorrance, see you later. Go do your thing. I love it. I love it. All right, so where are we at with the Leafs here, Johnny? How are we feeling about the chances that, you know, they continue this streak, they continue to play the way they've been playing, coming off a roadie, first game back home, hungry team in Vegas, you know, games on TSN tonight, you'll be between the benches. How much will this tell you about this resurgence and, you know, what they're all about and all the things they happen to be saying recently about, you know, they're a new team, they're a different team, and they feel good about where they're going?
So, I mean, I like their chances in as much they're playing Vegas. Yes, desperate team. Yes, Stanley Cup champs. But yes, decimated by injuries. They just have so many injuries up front that the game will probably have to be like a 3-2, 4-2 empty netter kind of game for Vegas to win because they just, you know, without Stone, without Eichel, they're the two guys who table set for everyone else. Yes, Marchessault, Carlson, Stevenson, they're all good. Obviously, they're better than good. But the guys who really help their teammates go, they're not available. So in that sense, I like it. But what caused me for concern, you and I have debated this numbers. The first game back, feels like it's going to be tough when Vegas has been hanging around for a few days in the city. And I'm also not happy, I don't know if I'd ever say this year, but Timothy Liljegren's not playing, right? So that lefty-righty Brody Liljegren, which seemed to bring out the best in both guys as well as drove really good results, not available. Back to Brody and Riley on the first pair, who have had a lot of time together. They score a lot of goals in the X, but they are not as good defensively as Liljegren and Brody have been in the last 7 games. That is a concern. Third pair becomes Gio, you know, our heart breaks for him and what he's been through. I don't know what that means for him trying to come back and play. It doesn't even matter, but it's going to be probably a challenge. With Lagesson, with 6 left-handed defenders playing for Toronto. So I put all that together, and that's not an ideal setup. There's probably a little bit of concern there, even though they have the better forwards, they're riding momentum, they're feeling great about themselves. It will be a good test. Can they play some version of what they played on this run to be successful tonight? Kind of a test of their maturity and maybe this new mindset they're trying to bring.
Johnny, Samsonov's playing tonight. How do you think this goaltending situation shakes out? Like, when does it get greasy where you got to make a call on a guy?
So the only time I think it gets greasy will be when they need the money or the roster spot. Like, I think they'll just ride the 3 guys.
I don't like 3 goalies around, though. You've seen it in Montreal all year. It's just a weird vibe, and I don't like it at all.
You shouldn't. We did this in Arizona with Sean Burke, Brian Boucher, and Zach Bjerk for about 5 weeks, and the goalies hated it. And you could pick up on the goalies hating it. And so the difference here, I wonder, though, is that do all 3 guys have enough of a hole in their recent resume that precludes them from saying, this is garbage, I don't like it? But like Joseph Wall can't stay healthy in his rookie year. Samsonov was on waivers. Nobody claimed him. He's rehabilitating his game and his mind, and that's great, but it's not like he's had a great run. And Martin Jones was in the minors all year, been up and down on waivers, was not claimed, has been really good, but he was in the minors. Like, I don't know if any of those guys kind of would look and say, this is like, be the squeaky wheel. I think they'll all just go along to get along for as long as it lasts, and it probably lasts until they need the roster spot, and then unfortunately somebody would have to go on waivers.
MJ, there's been this storyline put out there that John Tavares is taking one for the team, playing so dutifully on the third line, given this 7-game win streak and Sheldon Keefe making that choice to spread the core four among 3 lines. We were talking about it off the top of the show. You could spin it as he's taking one for the team, or that he's getting an incredible opportunity to play sheltered minutes against inferior competition. Where do you lie on this?
Well, by the tone of your question, I get the sense of where you lie on it.
Well, sure. Yeah, I've already said where I lie on it, but I'm interested in your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think both can be true, right? Like, I think given the state of his game, the fact he hadn't scored a 5-on-5 goal since December shows that he probably could benefit from maybe sheltered minutes in a lesser role. But he does. We talked about the resume of the goalies. The reality is, Dave, even if you don't like it, the reality is a player of his standing and stature could make noise, could be grumpy, could be a jerk about it, could go ask for more, demand for more, pout if he doesn't get more. And I think that's the part about sort of willingly accepting the new role or embracing it. That's sort of what they're referring to, because he's probably not happy. I was thinking, when was the last time John Tavares was not on the first power play unit?
Never.
Like, literally never in his life.
Maybe the Olympic Games.
Yes. Thank you. There it is.
Maybe the Olympics.
That would be literally the only time his entire life, right? So, we can joke about it. Well, you're still making $11 million. Yeah, you're still the captain. Well, it's still a big blow to his ego. And when guys get their ego hurt, they can sort of react in a positive or negative way. And I think that in that sense, it's fair to say that he's taken in, at least outwardly and maybe inwardly in the room, as positive as he can, and making the most of it.
Well, and he has to when they've won 7 in a row.
Of course.
That's the big, like, they're going to lose at some point, and we won't have access to it. But at that point, is John saying, "Oh, you sure you want me down here? I would have scored that goal. I could have got us over the top." That's when it'll be challenged, and that's when Keefe, in this recent philosophy and putting forward this lineup that has been very, very successful, will be challenged as well, Johnny, because I think they're going to have bad games. They're going to lose games. They're going to probably lose 2 in a row again at some point the rest of the year. I'd like to believe he's seen something here where he realizes, I have to stay committed to it. Do you think he will do that, or do you think he is more prone to reverting back to what he believed was the right way of doing things a month ago?
I believe, Hayes, that he will do whatever he thinks is best. And if that means putting Tavares on the third line, I think he's willing to take on that fight. If it is a fight or discussion or argument or whatever, I don't think he will roll just instinctively saying, well, we've lost 2, let's put them back together. I think the reality also is John Tavares didn't score a 5-on-5 goal for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, and that was with playing with William Nylander, who, by the way, is like 10th in the league in scoring. So this is not also without ammunition. If John Tavares thinks, I got to go back there, and he walks to the coach's office, he'd be like, listen, JT, we love you, but let's be honest here, right? Like, Bobby McMahon's got more 5-on-5 goals in the last 4 months than you do. So, at 5-on-5, we're going to play you, whatever. Like, he would make that stand, whatever he thinks is best. I don't think he'll feel pressured. And also by the tone that Sheldon Keefe, who is mindful of tending to his stars and dealing with the media and the market, I think he's also changed a bit in that he's like, I'm also mindful of doing it the way I think I should do it. And even if that rubs some people the wrong way, publicly, privately, I'm still going to do it that way.
With Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. So the Rangers are off tonight. They're back home at the Garden playing Columbus tomorrow night. And Matt Rempe has made himself...
Tell him the nickname.
The Rempire State Building. Yeah, I mean, you're down there in New York a lot. This is the kind of stuff that plays well. Yeah. Now, the last time we saw him, he lost badly to Olivier. Like, Olivier laid a beating on him. And he's got a shiner. It's in practice. That picture's gone viral. These fights have been on the road. He's back at the Garden tonight. Olivier's on the ice. Mm-hmm. What do you see happening tomorrow night? And how do you think this story has to play out for Rempe, the Rangers, and his role here?
You know what? In my mind, I'm like, there's no way. There is absolutely. First of all, I can barely see out of his left eye. Like it's swollen that shut. So there's no way he fights anyone until you just mentioned these fights have been on the road. And we know what Madison Square Garden is like. We know what New York can be. And, like, it is like a sensation right now. Forget about up here, down there. And he's got great spirit about it. So how do I see it? If it wasn't at home, 0% chance he fights the next game. But the fact that he is at home, maybe he wants a rematch with Olivier. Maybe someone around the room talked to him about this is how you defend yourself a little bit when you fight. I obviously have no idea how to do that, but I know that he doesn't. And that's a dangerous game to play. And I would also suggest that Peter Laviolette or Chris Kreider or Zibanejad or whatever, Jacob Trouba, should sit him aside. Listen, you can play. You're here to play. And yes, listen, I'm not telling you not to fight if you want to, but you don't have to fight. Just play. You're good enough to play because, he's not going to survive physically. The strength of the people that he's fighting, someone's going to hurt him. You can't do this every game. Like, you can't, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't even be allowed to. Even though the rules allow you to, your team shouldn't let you. So I think long-term, and he can be an effective player. Like, he's big, he hits hard, he skates pretty well, fights when has to. If he wants to play in the playoffs where there is no fighting, I would sort of empower him to, like, not look for it, not seek it out. If it's in defense of yourself or a teammate, whatever. Do what you want to do. But that's it. We don't need this every other game, and neither does your face.
Yeah, it's a complicated, complex situation because, he may return that. Let's say it's Peter Laviolette saying that. Like, I could see him responding by saying, okay, I won't fight, but do you guarantee me I stay in the lineup every night if I don't? Like,
well, I would say the fight against Olivia is not going to keep you in the lineup either.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, there's, how it is. It doesn't matter if you lose. The fact that you drop the gloves goes a long way, man.
Dude, you understand? You could say to that guy, don't even think about fighting tonight, and he can go out there and fight in the first shift.
He could still fight anyway. Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
He can make that decision. There's a
somebody
business
should say
element
that to
to
him,
it.
though, Hayes.
Yeah.
No, somebody should say that to him. Like, you do not have to fight.
I
Please
agree with
fight.
you. I agree with you.
And let him be as comfortable as he can be. And if he makes that call, then I guess at some point, he has to take ownership of what he's doing out there.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, he's thinking, the reason I'm in the NHL, the reason I'm staying in the NHL is because, we're winning. But in my, he played 5 games. He's played like 20 minutes of action.
Yeah.
But he plays 4 or 5 minutes a night. So how do you make an impact? You run into people, and then you fight. Like, that's all you can do in 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get where he's coming from, but I'm more concerned about his own, like, personal well-being. I know he's huge, and I know he's a gamer, and you can tell by the joy with which he is expressing his time in the NHL. But his time will be cut short because he's going to get knocked out and he won't be allowed to play.
Yeah,
and that's the reality, the harsh reality, and that's what someone's got to tell him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's more on his teammates than the organization. I think it's a teammate has to pull him aside, whether it's Trouba or someone else, and say, listen, man, you got to, if it's there, but play hard, play physical, throw hits. You can't go every single night. You just can't. You can't fight a heavyweight 3 minutes into the game every single night. It's just not going to work. It's going to run out of steam for you. But right now, he's in the eye of the storm, and it's such a massive story.
And there's the expectation.
And it's the Garden, New York. There's going to be Rempe jerseys all over that place tomorrow. I guarantee it.
Can he fight good Branson? Like, not that he's not tough, but
That's
fight
it.
Maybe not one of the toughest guys in the league. Like,
fight somebody else.
A player, hit someone, have that guy stand up, fight that guy.
Yeah.
Like, don't go take on Delorier, who fights more than anybody in the world, which was a hellacious fight, and, like, hats off to anyone who does that.
Tell you what, Johnny, say what you want about it. A lot of people are going to be tuning into Columbus at Rangers tomorrow.
Absolutely. And then if he gets into a tilt, he's up here in Toronto on Saturday night on hockey night, and Reeves will be out there.
Yeah.
Reeves will be playing,
I wonder, Hayes, do you wonder, I have no idea because I wasn't part of this world, but the amount of attention this sort of young, up-and-coming whippersnapper fighter is getting, all the grizzled fighters like, well, hang on. Let's remind the world why we're in the league 10 years. That's what Olivia thinks, and Delorier thinks, and Matt Martin thinks, and what Ryan Reeves will think. Like, listen, we get you the new shiny toy. Let's establish the rules of the jungle here and exactly where you land. Because I bet in that little group, and there's not a lot of them left in the NHL, they probably like bit of an eyebrow raise amount of attention this guy's getting for his 3 fights.
I agree, and I was not aware of who this kid was, and then afterwards he admitted when he got in his first fight, the outdoor game, it was Martin
Yes.
which means Matt Martin knew who he was and what he was doing in the minors. Knew why he was up.
Those guys know their business, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
you do prep work on a computer, those guys look up PIMs and watch fights.
Exactly. And that's, I think, what you're driving at is the big boys. Matt Martin's been in the league for 15 years. He's like, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. Let's go. And then the next guy's like, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. Let's go.
Yeah.
And, at some point, it's got to come to an end. But it's Olivier tomorrow, and then it's Reeves on Saturday night. I said yesterday, at some point they're playing Montreal. I guarantee you Jack guy is going to say, let's have a go. There's guys in the league that Tanner Jeannot down in Tampa is probably going to say, whenever you're ready, let's have a go if you want. I don't know how it stops. I really don't.
Well, it stops tomorrow if he just goes out and plays.
And doesn't accept it.
Fight unless something comes right up to him and gets into Toronto on Saturday and says, Reeves and him have a chat at the red line in warm up, and Reeves you can't even he cannot see out of his eye. He looks like Rocky, a bad makeup job of Rocky.
Yeah.
Well, then the trainers and medical staff can put an end to it and say, here's a full cage for the next 2 weeks, and that'll put the end to all of it.
Mm-hmm. Or I don't even know how this works, but he could probably be like, hey, look at my face. I'll get you when I'm right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the unwritten code comes into play, where these fighters, I think they'd accept that and say, all right. Olivier respects him. They fought. Not like he ran from him or, threw a massive check on Goudreau and then wouldn't accept the tilt. They fought. The fighters, I guarantee, respect the hell out of this kid. Mm-hmm. So I would expect Olivier probably goes up to him tomorrow and goes, do you want another go because of what happened? And if Rempe says no, he'll say, no problem, kid. Let's play. And I would expect Reeves would do the same. He's like, do you want it? No, no issue. Let's just play. But what those guys will be doing is they'll be on high alert. You throw a hit like you did in Jersey on Bastion, you're going to have to answer to me. And I wonder if there was a part of Delorier saying, I saw what you did in Jersey. You're not doing that to one of our guys. I'm going to approach it now. Let you know
preemptively. Let you know
exactly.
Don't be running around because we're going to run into each other right away.
Right.
I think how you explain that, Hayes, is exactly how we'll go. Do you want it again because you didn't go well last time to Olivier tomorrow? And he says, no, let's just play. He's like, okay, cool, let's play.
Yeah, let's play.
But if it comes up, you got to go. And on some level, you almost wonder if Rempe, the whirlwind this has been, he's like, it feels as though all he wants to say is F yeah, I want to go again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of guy he seems like. And while you respect it, you got to protect it from himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's tough.
I don't know how to fight, but every fight he's been in, it's sort of been fast and loose and not a lot of defense, which is not a very safe way of doing it long term.
Well, we'll see what comes of it tonight, Johnny. You'll be down there between the benches. The Leafs have won 7 in a row for the first time in 20 years. O's calling for a standing O when the guys get on the ice tonight.
Just a little bit of juice. Just acknowledge the fellas. Great job. It's been a great road trip. You guys are playing great. As opposed to them coming out on the ice and you're sitting on your ass. And it's a great fan base, but just have a little juice in the building. It's not a bad thing.
Not a bad wish. Not going to happen, but I appreciate the sentiment.
There you go.
That's even sad that you say that.
I know.
Wish, but it's not happening. Just
Probably
stand up,
won't.
start the game, get in your seats early, grab a cocktail, and when they come out on the ice, just stand up and say, let's go get them. Great job, fellas.
I love that idea.
Your whole plan falls apart with get your seats early.
That's the issue, especially on a Tuesday, bad weather.
On a rainy Tuesday? Who knows?
We're pulling for it. All right, Johnny. Thanks, buddy.
All right, fellas.
Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander, in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. Chris Johnston still to come. We'll ask him about McDavid, going 10 games without a goal. How significant is that? What does it mean? Oilers got a win last night, a big one against L.A. Big win last night. And this Elias Pettersson stuff is percolating out there in Vancouver.
Getting greasy, man. The fact that people are talking about that, I did not have that on the bingo card as an option of a topic of conversation.
Yeah, there's anxiety there that maybe he doesn't want to be there long term. Maybe they're way off the same page in terms of what the contract's going to look like. We saw what happened with Bo Horvat, so there's a history of a fan favorite, good player, homegrown guy. But he's an RFA at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So, if you're Vancouver, how could you possibly allow it to get to a point where it's boiling over and you trade him or you move off him or he gets to a point where he's like, I don't want to be here anymore, unless there's something we're not aware of that's going on there that again is not public nature. For me, I just cannot picture a future without Pettersson in Vancouver. I think that'd be crazy.
Who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
But that's it. So Chris Johnston will join us just after 6 o'clock. More on that. Justin Turner coming up. Panel night tonight. The quiz tonight. This is the night for you, man. I can feel it.
I don't care. I've been alienated as a guy that contributes to the panel. If Duthie's McDavid of the panel, I'm Hyman at least. And I've had some good nights.
You've had some really good nights.
I don't get the belt, and I just said that's enough. I'm out.
Yeah, it is shameful what they've been doing to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a slap in the face.
It is.
I want to do the quiz from the Sports Center set and be away from them because I've been alienated.
Yeah, that would be actually a really good idea.
Oh, you get a separate table?
A little separate
just
table.
do it on my own because I don't feel like I'm a part of the team.
The O-Dog desk.
I like that.
Okay.
That could work.
The I-desk. What did we call it? The O-desk.
Yeah, what was that again? The O-desk, I think it was. You wanted to, you weren't alienated, but you wanted to be over there for some reason. Anyway, good luck, man. I'm pulling for you tonight on the quiz.
Cheers.
There it is, the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill. Justin Turner of the Jays coming up. He will join us next. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Chris Johnston still to come. PJ Carlissimo in an hour. The Raptors got to their third straight win. Darko was happy last night, as he should be. That's a big win in Indianapolis.
Huge.
Big win in Indiana last night. And Scotty went off for a triple-double. He set new records in terms of that category for this team. Grady Dick was really good last night.
Looked great.
Looked really, really good. And that's what they always said. He could shoot, but really high basketball IQ. The new players have fit in pretty well. 3 in a row. Trae Young's hurt. Things are turning a little bit. It's you don't want to get too carried away here, but I think they have their sights set on that 10 seed in the East.
Yep.
And it doesn't feel as far-fetched as it did a week and a half ago.
No.
I think that's fair. It doesn't mean they're going to get it, but it's open.
Yeah, Brooklyn just fired their coach, and they haven't even got a new coach bump. I mean, they're just terrible.
Right.
And Atlanta, as you pointed out, Trae Young's not healthy. That's who knows. There's people saying he may never play for Atlanta again if he doesn't finish out the season. Mm-hmm. There's trouble in those two franchises. Yeah, to say the least.
Now the Raptors still got to win a lot of games, and they're still 3.5, 4 back of Atlanta.
Back, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're still in a situation where you're battling uphill, and you only have so many games left to play. But
I think
it's feasible
whether you make it or not. Whether you make it or not, this team needs meaningful games.
Yes, I agree.
There's been too many mail-in performances this season where it's been hard to know what to take out of it. Mm-hmm. There's been no positives.
Right.
Too many times. And now that you've kind of decided, okay, this is the direction we're going, we can all quibble about whether or not they're going to need more talent. There's no doubt about that. What kind of talent? How are they going to get it? This top 6 pick is probably out the window now if you're going toward the top rather than toward the bottom. Because there was real talk about how much should they consider tanking after the All-Star break.
They were in that position, right?
Yeah.
Like Memphis, prior to Ja going down, it was like Memphis probably finishes ahead of them. The 5 teams below them were so far gone you weren't going to catch them, so to speak. But they were solidified in that 6th spot, 6 from the bottom. They had the odds of keeping that pick. But I agree. I think a lot of the heavy lifting is done in terms of getting rid of the previous foundation and trying to establish a new foundation. We know Scotty Barnes is going to be a part of that. I thought R.J. Barrett played really well again last night, and he's been good. Is R.J. a part of it? Is Quickly a part of it? Is Grady Dick a part of it? If that's the case, it'd be great if you could add a top pick, clearly. But that pick's going to San Antonio at some point. Whether it's this year, you roll over to the next. It's top 6 protected, I believe, for a few years. Then it becomes, I want to say, multiple 2 second-rounders. But at some point, it's going to go. And ripping the Band-Aid off and trying to win and emphasizing a winning culture, I think is the right direction, right? And that, again, doesn't mean that they're going to get in. At this point, I think if you were handicapping the situation, I would still say they're going to miss.
Probably.
And if they get in, it's the 10 seed. It's probably a one-off. They probably lose, and that's it. But you can turn something into a positive here. With Siakam out, with Anunoby out, you've moved off a lot of veterans. You got a young coach who's still trying to figure things out, young players who are trying to kind of blend together here. If you have a carrot at the end of this and you say, go chase it this year, I think that can be very beneficial because you and I, we've talked about this a lot, Dave. They are terrified. They should be terrified of Detroit, Charlotte.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that, man. You don't want to spin out of control and be a disaster for years. You have to avoid it. And the best way to do that is be committed to winning every single night.
I agree.
Committed to winning. Don't send a message you're cool with losing, because once you send that message, it's very, very difficult to redeem yourself.
It really is. Like, I mean, you feel like the Pistons got jobbed last night against the Knicks, and they just can't catch a break. Right.
But and Monty Williams is freaking out about the Knicks, deservedly in that situation. But it's almost like there's so much bad karma that the Pistons have created by themselves based on their play and the way they've operated for years. It's like that's what's going to happen, man.
That's just
like,
it.
come on, Monty. I don't know what to tell you. You're getting paid a lot of money, and that team's an absolute disaster.
But it's funny, like, that's the beauty and the difficulty of kind of putting together talent, right? Like there's no doubt they had a more talented team when Siakam was on the team. But was it a fit? Like, Siakam and Barnes just didn't fit together, right? Like, that was one of the main reasons why they had to move on from Siakam, because they just occupied too much of the same real estate on the basketball court too often for it to work, right? The one, like, the early stages of this rebuild, it feels like it already fits a little better. Like, they got, and the reason for that is they've suddenly addressed the one thing they've failed to address for a few years in a row there, shooting. Yeah. Like, as soon as you put a shooter like Grady Dick in the corner, who's making over 50% of his corner threes over the past, whatever it is, dozen games, when you have that threat on the floor, you have Gary Trent Jr., who was the only shooter for too long. You have the Abaji kid can shoot it really well.
He's looked pretty good, Abaji.
He looks good.
He has looked good.
And suddenly, like that's the thing that bothered me about Masai and Bobby's build before they went away from it, was they just failed to address the fundamentals. Like, for how long did they not have a traditional big until they went out and blew a first-round pick on Pirtle? And then they didn't have enough shooting year after year, and it was like, how can you possibly think in this league where the three-pointer rules, they're shooting more three-pointers and more three-pointers every year, that you could be the outlier that doesn't have three-point shooting?
Right.
I mean, it just wasn't going to work.
It was never going to add up. It was never going to work. Yeah, and I mean, that's the conundrum of building around Scotty, who is not a strong three-point shooter, and I'm not sure he will ever get to that point. But you're right. You would think embrace that and realize you need everyone else to be able to shoot around him effectively. Not everyone's going to shoot at that clip. But you mentioned Grady Dick. He went 4 for 4 from 3 last night. Like, that kid can shoot, man.
Wow. It's like, when they say, like, balls come out of pitchers' hands differently and quarterbacks' hands differently. When that ball comes off his fingertips, it comes off differently.
It's barely hitting any
beautiful.
net, dude. He can shoot the ball, man. And he just needs space. He needs to grow. He needs to find his role. And it's looked so good. It's looked very good so far, man. The Raptors again winning last night. The J Spring training is now off and running. They played a few different games down there. I saw yesterday Justin Turner was out there. He's looking good, feeling good. Looks good in these colors, man. I got to say, I think a lot of people are jumping on board with this, as they should be. Let's head down to Dunedin now, catch up with one of the newest Blue Jays. Here's Justin Turner. How you doing, Justin?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing well, man. How you fitting in down there? You liking Dunedin so far?
So far, so good, man. These facilities here are first class, state of the art, and getting in that room with those guys, such a good group. A lot of continuity, a lot of guys that have played with each other for a long time, and obviously looking to do big things this year. So excited about that.
Yeah, the organization obviously very proud of those facilities. They've invested a lot of money into them, and we're always curious, like, when a free agent comes up, how often that might be a part of their conversations with the team. You're not a young buck anymore. I'm curious, how often that chat came up with Ross and Mark and others about what that kind of facility and what kind of staff they can bring to the table to make sure this season pops for you.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely something that, they made me aware of. I don't think it's like top of the list, number one reasoning for going somewhere. Obviously, want to go somewhere that is going to win and compete to win a championship. That's top of the line. But certainly having the facilities that they have, and haven't been up to Toronto yet, but I know they've done a lot of work up there too. So looking forward to seeing that. That stuff helps, and it makes it a little bit easier, especially if you're weighing, a couple different teams. That stuff definitely helps. I think it goes a long way when you're going into a first-class building every time you go to work. That helps. It makes the drive there a little easier every day.
So, Justin, you made your name. You got famous as a Dodger for sure, but you broke into the league in the AL East with Baltimore. You got drafted by the Yankees. You played for the Red Sox. What's it like to be back in the the kettle of, high pressure, high salary baseball that is the AL East?
Yeah, it's a great division, man. I think just top to bottom, it's, the best baseball in all of baseball. So every time you're playing an AL East opponent, it feels like a playoff game. It feels like there's playoff ramifications in it. You see if you look at the scoreboard, seeing the teams moving and shuffling up and down. It's just fun. It's exciting. It's great atmosphere every single night, and definitely looking forward to it. Rob Refsnyder's over with the Red Sox now. He's kind of been all over the AL East. I told him I'm trying to catch him on AL East clubs I've played for. So just got a couple more.
Yeah, you'll get there. You could get there for sure with Justin Turner. We were having a discussion about you yesterday with a former GM, and he was really talking about, obviously you're going to bring a lot of production on the field, but your leadership off the field, what you can bring in the dugout, the clubhouse, keeping guys accountable. Do you feel like there's, an obligation for you to bring that to the table because you're a champion, because of your age, how much you've been around, how much respect you're going to bring just based on who you are and what your career is? Like, how much of this role, beyond simply production and what you're going to bring at the plate or wherever you happen to play, is going to be Justin Turner brought these intangibles to the clubhouse? How valuable do you think you can be in that area?
Yeah, I hope to be very valuable, but I'm not a guy that's going to walk into a room on the first day and be, shouting out things left and right and calling guys out, because I don't know, or I haven't been around the guys to know how things work yet and know how guys click. So I'm just kind of getting to know everyone, see how everything goes. And I do want to be the guy that's vocal and can speak up, and not only to try to help the young guys and try to help everyone around me, but, I found that when I talk and when I say things and when I ask guys to do something, that actually holds myself accountable, because, if I'm telling these guys they got to do something better or do something a certain way, and then I'm not doing it, then, they look at me like I'm full of crap, right? So it helps me be accountable to myself by, standing up and having those conversations with guys.
Hey, Justin, I was looking at your Twitter, and I saw you were shouting out a good Toronto hockey player, Tyler Toffoli, who grew up around here and now plays for the Devils. What's your level of hockey fandom, and how did you and Toffoli become buddies?
Yeah, I love hockey. I think it's my favorite sport to watch, especially to watch live. Going to a hockey game is it's just different, man. The pace of play, the action, the fighting, the creativity that these guys have on ice. I don't think they get enough credit. I think there's always a lot of debates out there on who the most athletic guys are. Is it football? Is it baseball? Or is it basketball? And rarely do hockey guys come up, but it's like, dude, like they're basically hitting moving pucks on skates, right? Like they're freak athletes. So I think they need a lot more credit than they get. But I've known Toffoli for a while now. My wife and his wife are actually best friends. So,
there you go.
Yeah, I've known him since back when he was with the Kings. I followed him up when he went to Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, and now he's with New Jersey. So I've already been asked a ton, like, oh, are you a Devils fan? And I'm like, not necessarily. I just, I like watching my guy play, and anytime I have a chance, I have his games on. So I think April 11th, actually, they'll be up in Toronto, and we have an off day. So I will probably be at that game.
There you go.
Rooting for the Leafs, obviously.
That's you got to clarify that, man. You got to clarify that with Justin Turner, the Jays, and obviously you play third, you play first, some second base, you can DH. It's early into the spring here, but has Schneider, indicated one way or another where he sees you playing this season, and do you have any preference?
Yeah, we had that conversation. I think it's probably going to end up being more DH than anywhere. And if we need to get guys a day off their feet or something, I can, slide over, play some first base, get Vlad off his feet a little bit. Or we have so many guys that are so versatile. It's kind of crazy. I feel like we have 4 third basemen. I feel like we have 4 guys that can play first. We only have 3 outfielders on the roster that are actual outfielders, but every infielder can go out and play in the outfield. So I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. I'll be ready to play wherever they need me to, but the initial conversation was probably going to mostly DH.
Hey, Justin, we were listening to John Schneider the other day. He was really praising you for your knowledge of situational hitting and the art that is, when to, take a certain approach in an at-bat and how to do that. That's sort of been a weakness of the Blue Jays, I would say, for the past few years here. Like, how much can a veteran impart some of the tricks of that trade to younger teammates, and is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah, I think that stuff's kind of contagious. So the more it's talked about around the cage, the more situational work we do in batting practice, and those conversations about getting in those spots, getting those RBI spots, not getting too excited and trying to do more. It's actually calm down, try to do less, and understand that the pitcher's back is against the wall. It's not, the pressure's not on us. The pressure's on them. So really just trying not to, geek out in those moments and try to, make the swing for the big 3-run homer. And I've been talking about it every day. It's like you have a guy on third and less than 2 outs. Whatever your approach is, the worst case scenario is you're getting the guy in, whether that's a ground ball to second, a fly ball in the outfield. Like, that should be your approach, not necessarily, there's a guy on third and less than 2. I can just try to hit a homer here. And having those conversations, I think, go a long way. So we'll have a lot of them this year.
We were discussing vets in spring training, and this might be a different spring training for you because you're new to the team. But we have this idea that it's a great life. Like, you get to the facility, you put in your work, you get your hacks in, you talk to the boys, you get whatever medical stuff you have to get done. And if you want to be on the tee box at like 11:07 a.m., you can pull that off. Is that an accurate assessment? Like, take us through the life of a veteran like Justin Turner in spring training.
Oh, man, it can be that way. I actually have my clubs down here, and I haven't even taken them out of my travel case yet. So I haven't even swung a club. Like I said, I'm the new guy around here, so I'm around and trying to get to know guys, and I spend as much time in the cages and around guys hitting as I possibly can. Not just because I think I can help them, but also, being around guys and hearing them talk about what they're trying to do and their thoughts and their feels, can help me as well. So it certainly is, you will find guys that are in and out in a hurry and running off to the tee box, but I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
That might be John Schneider, man. Every time we talk to John in the offseason, he's like, yeah, I'm tipping it tomorrow, man. He loves to play golf. Although he's committed, I'm sure.
Good to know.
Yeah, you make sure you bring that up.
I love to play golf too. I just never do it.
Okay. All right. Well,
I got
it's
to get
tough.
out there more.
You got it, man. Well, there you go. It's going to be fun to have you in town, and good luck the rest of the spring, and we'll catch you when you get up to Toronto. Thank you for doing this.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
You got it. Justin Turner, the Toronto Blue Jays. I think he confirmed what we were talking about. Like, if you want to do that, you can do that.
Yeah.
He's
trying to make a good impression.
Which I love.
Hanging around a little more, a little less golf, a little more baseball.
Yeah. Loved his answer about him keeping other guys accountable, keeps himself accountable.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really interesting way of putting it, where he's like, I know if I do that, it's actually a good thing because it's going to force me to play the right way and perform and produce. And
interesting guy.
But explain why he's been around so long.
I was going to say, that explains why you bring a guy like this in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that one to me stood out. And the other one was just about the idea that, when runners in the scoring position, and this team struggled a lot last season with runners in scoring position at the plate, and we even heard the GM, I think on this very show, Hayes, talk about how maybe it is a little bit mental. Guys put a little too much pressure on themselves. And he's reframing it. Like, the pitcher has his back against the wall when there's runners in scoring position. You don't need to do too much. You don't need to get
right.
Pressure's not on
Just
you.
put the ball in play and someone's
Pressure is on the pitcher at that point. And that, I don't know if that's going to work, because we all know the Blue Jays situational hitting's been pretty bad, and they got some pretty undisciplined hitters. But can't hurt to be talking about it.
I like the approach.
Yeah.
I support the philosophy. We'll see how it plays out. Easier said than done. Chris Johnston coming up. PJ Carlissimo still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, every day we announce a current or former Maple Leaf player. And on Friday, you have a chance to call in and name the Maple Leaf lineup of the week. This week, we're throwing in a pair of tickets. See, the Leafs play the Bruins March 4th. That's a big pair of tickets.
Nice.
And we're throwing in a $250 Vanilla Visa prepaid card. Vanilla Visa prepaid cards are available for purchase at Petro-Canada. Today's player of the day is Dominic Moore. Dominic Moore is your player of the day. So there you go. Leafs Golden Knights tonight. No Jack Eichel, no Mark Stone, but their defense is healthy. We had Bruce Cassidy on yesterday, and Bruce said I think he said only the fourth or fifth game all year they're going to have like the sixth defenseman they plan to play come playoff time, and Aiden Hill's back in net. He's healthy. They ran him out last week. Man, the Leafs had a great first period in Vegas.
They really
on Thursday
did.
night. They were unbelievable.
I guess the counter to it is kind of an AHL forward line right now.
Like, they're struggling.
Like they're really thin up front.
Yeah. Yet you still got Marcia, so you got, Wild Bill out there. You got Chandler Stevenson, who hasn't been great this year. He had a couple goals over the weekend. Yeah, we'll see.
And then first game back from the West Coast road trip, always a tough one.
Well, and Matthews didn't score the other night. Like, we'll get into this into the next hour. Like, by no means is it like he's obligated to score to keep the vibe going. But if you get 2, 3, 4 games in a row without a goal, the 70 turns into 65 pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then it's like, can he get to 61 and break his own record? Like, you want to keep the mojo going on a magical season. And I wouldn't be surprised if he found the back of the net tonight. He did find it late in that Vegas game.
Yeah.
The 7th goal in a 7-3 game.
Which is a rare garbage goal for him.
It really, really rare. He's got no empty netters this year. It's pretty crazy. Final hour coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.